Look at David Beckham today. A gentleman walking down red carpets in perfectly tailored suits, cameras flashing from every angle. He smiles with calm confidence as if the world has never laid a hand on him. In Miami, beneath the warm sun and swaying palm trees, Beckham embraces Lionel Messi as the owner of Inter Miami. Not a former footballer clinging to relevance, but a billionaire architect of the modern game. Fashion icon, global brand, a man who appears to have won life itself. This is the image the world knows, perfection without cracks. David Beckham looks untouchable, but the past crashes in without mercy, newspaper headlines dripping with hatred, death threats sent to his family. And finally, a close-up of Beckham's face, bloodied, with stitches carved into the skin above his eye. Behind the flawless image lies a horror story. This is not just a tale of success. This is the story of a man who was once the most hated person in England, and later, physically wounded by the only father figure he had ever known. How did the most hated man in the country survive long enough to become the icon we see today? And why did his deepest pain not come from the crowd, but from Sir Alex Ferguson, the man he loved like a father? Public Enemy number 1, 1998. It didn't end with the red card, that was only the beginning. When the World Cup ended, David Beckham returned to England thinking the storm might pass. That football eventually would heal everything. But the hatred didn't fade. It followed him home. His first game back was against West Ham United. From the moment he stepped onto the pitch, the boos began. Not scattered, not occasional, relentless. Every single touch of the ball was met with abuse. 90 minutes of pure venom pouring down from the stands. Chants, insults, screams telling him he was a disgrace, a traitor, a coward. Beckham kept playing, but the noise never stopped. At one point, cameras caught him doing something unthinkable for a professional footballer. He raised his hands and covered his ears. Not in defiance, in survival. Because he wasn't just being booed as a footballer, he was being hunted as a symbol. England needed someone to blame, and Beckham had a face everyone recognized. Then the hatred crossed a line. An envelope arrived. Inside it was a bullet. Not a metaphor, not a threat written in anger. A real bullet sent to his family. David Beckham was 23 years old. Imagine that fear. Not for your own career, but for your parents, your wife, your future children. The sudden realization that football rage had turned into something darker, something uncontrollable. This was no longer about sport, this was about safety, about survival. Beckham later admitted he barely slept. Every knock at the door felt dangerous. Every unknown car felt like a threat. He had become public enemy number 1 in his own country. And yet, he still had to walk onto the pitch every week. For most players, this would have broken them completely. But Beckham had one lifeline: Manchester United and Sir Alex Ferguson. While the country screamed for his blood, Ferguson closed ranks. He banned the press, he shielded Beckham, he played him without hesitation. To the outside world, Beckham was England's villain. Inside Old Trafford, he was still someone's son. The rise of Brand Beckham. Then history shifts. In 1999, Manchester United complete the treble. Beckham is no longer the villain, he is a champion. And in 2001, with one perfect free kick against Greece in the final seconds, he completes his redemption. England qualify for the World Cup. The nation forgives him, then worships him. But as Beckham rebuilds his legacy on the pitch, another story is being written away from it. He marries Victoria Adams, Posh Spice. And David Beckham steps into an entirely different world. No longer just football, fashion, celebrity, hairstyles, sarongs, magazine covers. David Beckham becomes a global brand, and that fame saves him. The spotlight, the attention, the celebrity shield him from the hatred that once consumed him. Brand Beckham is armor. But the irony is cruel. The very fame that protects Beckham from the public begins to poison his relationship with Sir Alex Ferguson. Ferguson is old school. Discipline first, control above all. He despises distraction and fears losing authority. And now he feels himself losing control, not just of his team, but of his son. The cracked relationship. The fracture does not happen overnight. It grows quietly. Beckham is benched for major matches. Training sessions grow colder. Conversations turn into arguments. Ferguson believes Beckham's focus is drifting, that fame has begun to outweigh football. He lives by one rule. The moment a Manchester United player thinks he's bigger than the manager, he has to go. This is not a warning, it is a verdict. To Beckham, it feels like betrayal. The man who once protected him from the world now seems determined to push him away. To Ferguson, it is the pain of watching a son leave the path he laid out. The air becomes suffocating. This is no longer about tactics or trophies. It is about pride, authority, and a relationship corroded by disappointment. The Flying Boot, 2003 February 2003. FA Cup defeat to Arsenal. The dressing room door slams shut. Silence. The kind of silence that feels heavier than shouting. Sir Alex Ferguson is furious. Years of authority, discipline, and control are boiling over. Beckham sits there, exhausted, frustrated, already feeling the distance between himself and the man who once protected him. A stray boot lies on the floor. Ferguson later said he didn't aim it, that it was an accident, that he never meant to hurt Beckham. But in that moment, intent didn't matter. He lashed out. The boot flew across the room and smashed into Beckham's face. Blood poured from above his eye. For a split second, nobody moved. Then Beckham exploded. He swore. He jumped up. He charged at Ferguson, rage replacing years of suppressed resentment. This wasn't a player arguing with a manager anymore. This was a son snapping at his father. Ryan Giggs and Ruud van Nistelrooy rushed in, grabbing Beckham, holding him back as he struggled to break free. Teammates shouted. Chaos filled the room. Years later, Beckham would admit he lost control, and Ferguson would admit something else, that, in that instant, the relationship was finished. When Beckham walked out with butterfly stitches carved into his face, the photograph became iconic. But what the world didn't see was worse. That wound wasn't just on his skin, it was the moment the last emotional tie between them was severed. David Beckham never wanted to leave Manchester United. But after the Flying Boot, there was no going back. He was sold to Real Madrid, to the Galacticos, to global superstardom, to a world where football and celebrity merged completely. But the move wasn't just about football, it was about escape. Leaving Old Trafford meant leaving the boy he used to be, the academy kid, the son who needed approval. In Madrid, Beckham became something else, a global figure bigger than any single manager, club, or country. Then came LA Galaxy. At the time, people laughed, but that move changed football forever. Beckham wasn't running from the game, he was reshaping it, building bridges between continents, turning footballers into global entrepreneurs, laying the foundation for something much bigger. Inter Miami did not happen by accident. It was the final chapter of a long plan, a plan to step out of the shadow of being just a player and become the architect of his own destiny. Years later, Beckham and Sir Alex Ferguson reconciled. Time softened the anger. Respect returned. But innocence never did. Because some wounds teach you a lesson that cannot be unlearned. And here is the truth. Sometimes, to become a real man, you have to kill the child inside you. The scar above David Beckham's eye was the blade that finally cut the last umbilical cord, the final separation from the father he loved, and the moment David Beckham truly stood alone. Because football is not just about goals and trophies. It's about pain, sacrifice, and the moments that break us before they define us. Subscribe to Football Chronicles for stories that go beyond the pitch. Stories about the men behind the legends, the scars behind the smiles, and the truths history doesn't show on the highlight reels. Leave a comment and tell us. Do you think David Beckham needed that pain to become who he is today? And if you believe football is more than a game, then you're already one of us.